Hey guys, it's Carly with Builds by Carly, and we are back at the steepest lot we have ever taken on. We knew this one was gonna have some challenges, but we didn't even expect all the curveballs that we've been thrown here. So we're here with Ryan of R&R Land Management, and last time we were here, the driveway was only cut in roughly to about where we're standing right now. And Ryan and his team has worked incredibly hard day after day to do extensive excavation work that is drastically different than last time we were at this site. It doesn't even really look the same. So Ryan, do you want to touch on some of the challenges you faced here? Because it's been crazy, and how it's been different from other job sites and what you've done up to this point?
Well, I mean, the rock has been the main thing that we've dealt with, the riprap style rock, and basically getting past that and getting to where we're on solid ground again is obviously key.
Right, because we went from what was essentially solid rock to this riprap style, which is, that's not typical, right?
You can't put a house on that either.
Yeah.
So
have you run into that before?
No.
Okay.
First time for everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we had to get all that material out of the way so we could get on solid ground to be able to put these footers in for you.
So right now we're standing in the driveway, roughly about where it'll end, just before where the house is going to go. So this is about the end of our driveway, and then we'll put in a little bit of a parking space or a turnaround. And we mentioned in our last video, we still think that's going to need a little bit of a wing wall, so we're planning on that. And then Ryan's gonna take us into all of these benches that we have cut in that probably look a little bit confusing if you're not sure what's gonna go here, and this is an unusual situation. So Ryan, why don't you go ahead and explain all of this excavation work and what we have planned here?
So all these benches being cut in here, once piers are in and footers are in, we'll have to bring dirt back in to bring the elevation back up so this bank isn't as tall. And in order to bring grade up, we had to bench in a lower bench to be able to bring the dirt up. You can't just put dirt right on the side of a mountain and expect it to stay. So another bench had to be cut in to where everything could be brought up, and the slope of the mountain will all be put back natural again. To get around these benches, we also have to cut roads around to be able to access up on the steep parts.
To be a little bit more transparent about the house is gonna sit on this upper bench here, so it's kind of our house seat, and then it's going to protrude forward and be supported entirely by piers because this is our treehouse style. So like Ryan was mentioning, once our piers are here, it's gonna be really tough to get a machine through, so he has to navigate all of this ahead of time, because if he can't get his machine back through, he can't access what he needs to dig the footers, possibly build any more wing walls, install the septic, things like that. So I wanted to stop here and point something out. We have two really large stumps, one in front of me here and one to my right. And the excavation company does have a reason behind why they leave those sometimes versus why they take those out.
With the material that we're working with here, it's really not wanting to stay on the hillside like it should. And if we were to take these stumps out, it's just going to cause a big void in the mountain, and then eventually could cause another bad spot. So in order to hold the mountain back itself, these stumps and the root systems has actually made it a lot easier to maintain all this. So by leaving them, you don't take the chance of all this potentially coming down here. So it's better just to, if you can, especially on a steep grade, to leave them like that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think people would be shocked if they know how gigantic those root balls are when you take one of those out. So now we're on our middle bench here, which has actually become Ryan's pathway for access. So we're gonna let Ryan show us what exactly he's done here.
Coming off the lower bench here for the house, you have to be able to access up to the next level to be able to get up there and dig for your footers and whatnot. So in order to get up there, you can't just drive up the side of the mountain. So you gotta make a trail to be able to get yourself around, and it'll also make things a lot easier come build time as well. Taking lumber and stuff up here to the upper side.
And you're using this as access for the septic, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, just to get a machine in and out of here all together. So having this here just makes that a whole lot easier to maneuver around the property.
So now this is your septic bench, right? Septic access?
Yep, so the sight line to the septic will go up this bench right here, and then there'll be drain field that goes all the way across the side. but we have to get the piers done first in order to essentially get all it, because we had a nice little road cut in right here, but limited space to work with. We had to pile the dirt here to be able to get up there, but we'll have to recut another little bench in here to be able to access back over into the house seat.
Okay. Well, let's go take a look at what we have for our house seat right now, this upper bench, and see what we have going on there.
Okay.
So I can't stress the importance enough about having the correct resources involved when you're taking on something like this. Not just because of the slope, but the elements, the building the house entirely on piers. There's numerous reasons why an engineer is an invaluable resource on something like this. And we've had ours out here so many times to oversee this project and make sure that we're doing everything the way it needs to be done. That, in addition to our surveyor, we talked about that in our other video where they helped stake the driveway, figure out how we were going to comply with slope regulations here. And we just had them back out to restake for the house so we know exactly where each of these piers are sitting. So we are standing on what is essentially our house seat or our upper bench. And we're going to let Ryan talk a little bit further about the pathway he made in here and the work that he's going to perform next.
So coming in here, we had to continue our little bench up in here to get out to here to where we could essentially get back to solid ground again. We had dirt and rocks, mostly rock, that had to be moved out of the way just to be able to get back on solid again. And we will also have to bring dirt back in here as the piers are in, and that gets done.
So what's the order of events right now? I know we're still waiting on the engineer to give us just a little bit more information about the exact house seat and exactly where we want the piers. But what are you thinking for the steps you're going to take next?
Well, the next step really is after we figure out exactly what we're going to do, the next step is going to be getting the footers dug in and the piers in, so that way some of this dirt that's in the way, right now, we can backfill in here and bring this grade back up some. Same with all these lower benches. We'll also have to bring more material back in that we hauled out to be able to try and put some of the landscape back.
And one of the concerns is you guys can see how we have some of our house corners marked here. So this is for the deck. This is the other end of the deck. But then all of our piers go forward from there, and we have to make sure that they're not hitting on the edge of a bank. So correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan, but right now we've had to scoot the house over. That's been one of the challenges. Is originally our house seat was over here. Yep. We've come over maybe 20 feet. Roughly. Yeah, we've had to scoot everything over left to right about 20 feet. And now we're trying to figure out, do we need to go forward or backwards? So forward towards the road behind me, or backwards up the hill a little bit higher, right?
Yeah.
So you don't run into, because how would you even dig that?
Well, essentially these set of piers right here is already getting kind of close to the edge. And as you can see, it's already kind of breaking off. So to get a good footing in, you're going to want to be kind of back on solid ground again. So by doing that, we may end up having to scoop the house back some to get, to make everything line up on the bench, on good solid bench.
Right. And the other element we're still thinking about is kind of a little bit of maybe not a ready rock wall, but some type of retaining wall for the dirt in front of us.
A cinder block wall.
Okay.
Something along that lines. But they'll be roughly, I don't know, 3 or 4 feet of dirt that'll have to come back in here once the piers are put in. So that way, but we got to put, like the engineer said, we got to put some of the landscape back. So you're not going to want to have these big banks standing up behind the house. So by bringing some of this material back in, that's going to make these banks a little shorter than they are.
And can you explain the purpose of that? Like break it down a little bit further for everybody about bringing that dirt back? Because that's not always common practice either. Usually if you haul it out, you're done with it.
Right. So he's mainly worried about this bank being so tall, and if anything was to ever break off of it, that could potentially cause a problem. But by bringing the level back up some, now you've took half the height of the bank out of the mix. So it's obviously a little bit safer now. So by doing that, then putting that wall in there, you really don't have to worry about anything coming off on it.
Right. It just retains it back.
Yep.
And we are possibly going to have a wall to support some of this bank. We're thinking as of right now, as we work through this, that's a potential wing wall cost here.
A ready rock wall right here, possibly. But there again, we're kind of on the engineer's terms.
Yeah, and then of course, if it's over 4 feet, then the engineer has to design the plans for the wall. So then that's where the engineer would come into play again, because they would engineer those plans and you would install according to their plans. So definitely some added expenses here that, you know, when you get thrown these curveballs, these mountainsides, it can really throw you off a little bit, and having those resources is important. So we mentioned about the septic. Can you run through a little bit of what has to go into that and where that falls into place?
This septic here, this particular system is going to be a pump system. So you're going to end up having 2 tanks down here. One will be a tank for solids and liquids to both go in. And then the second tank will be for liquids only. And it'll also have a pump in it. And that pump will pump your liquids all the way up that bench that goes to the top there. And then your drain field will all lay across the top side of the mountain there.
And we have how many feet of lines on this one? It was
I believe it was 100.
I was gonna say 100 or 150.
100.
Okay. Smaller houses, it's not as bad.
It's going to be quite interesting getting that 100 in.
I can imagine. Yeah, everything about this one. I mean, where would you rate it on 1 to 10 of challenges on any project you've done? Where are we at?
It's pretty steep. I mean, it's not necessarily just challenging. I mean, you essentially got to make your way in to any of these lots anyway. The challenging part is running into the riprap rock that we didn't anticipate.
Yeah.
So by doing that caused all the material to have to come back in, because, you know, now we're dealing with loose material, so we have to bring some of this back in to make these banks not so tall.
Yeah. So where are we at on the scale? I've got to know. Compared to other projects you've taken on and the challenges and curveballs here.
This is probably on up there to the top, I'd say. Hopefully you steer clear from here on out.
At this point, I almost would have been disappointed if you didn't say 9 or 10. Because I don't think it can be much worse.
It's been a challenge.
But it's going to look killer. This is going to
be a killer view.
Yes. We've got this 180-degree dimensional mountain view. And then we've got surrounded by all the foliage. We've got that perfect open spot there. But I mean, even just all these walls are going to cost a lot. But the way the house is going to hang over the edge, it's going to hang over the edge of a cliff essentially. And it's just going to look practically like an optical illusion.
The walls are going to make the place pop, I think.
Yeah, so I think this is going to be all for a tiny house, but one of the cooler things maybe you've even been a part of when it's the finished product. So we're kind of mad at it a little bit right now, but I think I know we'll be really excited in the end. Yeah, you're just keeping it real.
Yeah, we're ready for the next one.
Yeah, and at least we're throwing an easier one at you next time with our pond location. So you'll get a nice break from this. So really what's left is just to figure out, are we going forward or backward with the house? We know left to right we're good, forward or backward, we're trying to get that calculated, and then you can really get back at it.
Yeah. I would say we're probably going to have to scoot back just a little bit just to be able to get your porch piers kind of up on some solid. Get these, we have to scoot this bank over just a little bit, and by doing that, if we cut this, a lot of this loose material here is going to fall, so we're going to have to really get all of this shifted back into the mountain a little bit more than it is, which is, it's no problem, but
yeah, so we're going to end up with this being the 4-foot deck. We're going to end up with maybe 8 feet worth of the house before it overhangs, wouldn't you say? And the whole house run lengthwise, including decks, is 32 feet. So only 8 feet of the house is going to be where we're standing, and essentially the rest of it's elevated. Exactly. That's why this is going to look wild and really cool, because it's just going to be floating other than the piers it's going to sit on. So we're all about creative solutions, and one thing that did work out about the house having to be moved from here to here is now we have this essentially flat space to use as we want. So we're thinking this would make a great spot for some amenities, like a barrel sauna, maybe even a hot tub, or a fire pit, because we can extend this out. Well, Ryan and his team can extend this out pretty far. So you could really walk out of the house and then you're right here at your amenities. And if we did that, Ryan would actually clear all this out. Again, we're still in the middle stage here. So Ryan and his guys would clear this out and he can extend this flat space even further. So we can still maybe make it work for us. So if we have enough interest, we'd actually like to bring you guys back here and show the septic installation, like an inside look of how the septic system looks and how Ryan and his guys are gonna make it happen. So let us know if that's something you'd like to see. Now, Ryan, is there anything else you'd like to add?
I think we're good. I'd like to thank the crew, for, especially for this challenging lot that we've been on. They've all been a bunch of troopers on it. And,
yeah, they have.
They've counted the leaves as they've been grading up the mountain here, so they know how many leaves you've got.
They watch them change color like paint drying.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm real impressed with how they've performed, and they've done an excellent job here. And I hope they keep up the good work.
Well, and just thank you. I just want to thank you and all of your guys. Let them know our gratitude for everything you're doing, because we know you took on a lot here.
We couldn't do it without them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this job site update and seeing how drastically different it is from last time we were here. And we're gonna come back again if that's something that you'd like to see. If you like this behind the scenes content, like and follow.